on the higher end devices to adopt HTML5 as quickly as they can. The biggest challenge always comes back to is CPU and memory. The WebKit runtime is about 8 megabytes, and runtime memory is about 25, 30 megabytes, and that's just, you know, you look at, we're not even talking about emerging market, but if you look at the devices that are going out into the emerging market, so parts of Southeast Asia, Africa, et cetera, we're talking devices that only have 1 megabyte of runtime memory and maybe 500K of storage, right? So super low end, ARM7, you know, 133 megahertz device, where, you know, rumor has it iPhone, you know, iPhone next gen will have, you know, 600 megahertz processor, ARM11, right? So there's a huge discrepancy. But I fully expect, if you see the trend line, that Android, iPhone, all the high-end browsers will adopt it as quickly as possible to really push this, the web as the platform trend. All right, moving on to the next trend. Content licensing. This is actually, so this is kind of a business trend, which is kind of interesting. You know, if you went around to different companies and you asked them what mobile meant to them, you're going to get different answers. At Intel, I always joke about this. At Intel, what's the mobile group working on? Well, we have a new notebook coming out, you know, next month, which is, you know, for it's not actually a mobile device. It's they're referring to notebooks. They call mobile small screen devices. That's a commonly used industry term. Well, the question is now, let's say I have a browser on my mobile device, and I can access Hulu, and I can access Pandora, and I can access Sling, and NFL.com, which airs all their games live on the web, and all kinds of other amazing content, which typically I had to pay for on a mobile device. I didn't get for free. What happens to the industry of content licensing? So this is a really interesting disruption to see how this plays out. So I'll go back to the NFL example. So Sprint paid the NFL maybe $100 million for a 5-year sort of exclusive for NFL games on your mobile device. But if you go to NFL.com on your PC, you can watch those games for free. Now, if your mobile phone supports Flash and you can watch NFL games on your phone for free, well, we have a problem, right? So what's going to happen? Another interesting example, you know, I've been talking to a lot of iPhone game publishers, so Guitar Hero, you know, one company had the rights to Guitar Hero for the iPhone, but 50% of App Store downloads come from the iPod Touch, and they didn't have the rights to Guitar Hero for the iPod Touch, because the iPod Touch is classified as a handheld license as opposed to a mobile license, right? So that's like the Game Boy Advance license or the Sony PSP license. So it'd be really interesting to see how this plays out. Is there anyone here who works in the business of premium content or has a perspective around this?
I've been.
Yeah.
You have a question about it? Or?
Yeah, well, what do you think?
It just depends on what side of the table you're sitting at.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, I'm a content owner, so I love it.
Because you can maximize revenue.
Maximize my revenue.
Yeah, that's the reality. I used to joke. I don't know how many people have ever been to a music conference, but half the people at a music conference tend to be attorneys.
That's right.
It's so licensing based.
Absolutely.
Anybody on the other side of the camp who has to license content?
Well, I've been on that side too.
I'm curious about like Creative Commons licensing, like if that can play in, or I think it can, but how that would fit in, or what if the license could change depending on whatever device it's coming into?
Well, this is where it gets kind of
one license.
Well, I'm not proposing necessarily one license, but what I guess what I'm saying is it's gotten quite convoluted.
Yeah.
When you read I don't know how many people have actually looked at a licensing contract, but if you went and did one today, you're going to see some pretty interesting and vague definitions applied at the same time. Mobile device, defined as, tends to be a device less than 3 inches in screen size, tends to have keys on the front, tends to have 12 keys, often has sliders. You know? So they go through a whole series of vague definitions, which is just to circumvent this scenario where mobile isn't really a defined word. You know, Intel calls it the laptop. I call it the mobile device. So interesting trend to track.
mean, a lot of that has been because you can charge for mobile content.
Correct.
You can't really,
And it's been a revenue leader for many
right.
people.
So how do you see that, the economics of it?
I think what you're going to see is the model's going to change. So I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, in the NFL scenario, maybe the games aren't free anymore online. It's subscription only. And you can access it from PC or mobile, or the back of your Ford, or the TV screen in your GE refrigerator.